Ladies and gentlemen, a story number 1, nothing is ever as it seems. I think I'm the perfect example of that. I don't think there'll be a single person in my comment section who'll agree with me. I'm doing something that I know no one will support, but I just can't help myself. I've come this far to get something, and I don't want to lose the opportunity to have it. I know I'm seen as a gold digger, and I don't think I'll change that anytime soon. I'm desperate, and that's what made me get married to my husband in the first place. My name is Michelle, and I'm 31. I'm 31 years old. I'm a 31-year-old woman who works at a fashion store in Los Angeles, California. I only moved here after getting married to my husband, Simon. He's a 40-year-old realtor agent, and we've been married for approximately 2 years. I come from a very poor background and have struggled to make ends meet my whole life. I've always had to pay a price for everything, and that's how I ended up with a realtor agent as a husband. I sound like a fool, and to be honest, I think I am one, but if I've had to do some pretty questionable things to survive in this cruel world. I didn't just meet Simon and get married to him, I literally had to pay a price to be with him. It's like that with how I've struggled in life, it's a trade-off. I'm not claiming to be a good person because I know that I am far from it. I am an opportunist who has tried her best to climb her way up. There's nothing good and innocent about me. When I first met Simon when he came to the town where I used to live with some of his friends on a camping trip. I know someone who works close to the place they visited, so it was easy for me to meet him. I hadn't gone to college yet. I was supposed to have finished college, but I was still a high school graduate who worked several jobs to earn money. When I heard that a group of rich guys were visiting, I decided to grab the opportunity. I didn't think there was a better way to get rich than marrying rich. I didn't even pay attention to Simon at first because he was the least attractive of all the guys present. He had a dorky look with unkempt beards. He is also the oldest of the group, so I never thought he was my type. One of his friends looked white and attractive, so I decided to go after him. I started visiting the camping site almost every day, but none of them seemed to notice me. I also discovered that they were all married except Simon, and I wasn't. I was surprised because he wasn't someone I'd usually go for, but I was desperate and decided to make a move. Long story short, I was able to befriend him and get his phone number. Unfortunately, they went back to LA almost 1 week later. I still had his phone number, but I was no longer interested until I was told that he is a realtor agent, which made me more determined. I started calling him every day. I still have a lot to say, so I'll cut the story short. He booked a flight for after 2 months of talking online, I visited him in Los Angeles. We started dating for a while and then I introduced him to my brothers. As I said, he's 40 years old and seemed desperate to get married after just 6 months of dating. He proposed after meeting my whole family. I agreed on the condition that he found me a job in New York. He agreed and also gave me a condition before we had any children. He said we could only have children. After 4 years of marriage, I still didn't understand why he wanted that, but I agreed because, like I said, I was desperate. One weird thing Simon did before we got married is that he made sure I took several tests to determine my blood group and genotype, and other medical terminologies I cannot seem to call. I know it's normal to test with each other, but his tests were extreme. Like I said, I had no choice but to marry the old man. I'm not even sure he's 40, maybe he's lying about his age. After getting married, I realized that the grass isn't really greener on the other side. Simon had met my whole family and had his opinions about all of them before marrying me, but I only met his sisters and uncles at the wedding. I didn't see his parents. When I asked why, he just told me not to worry about it. I realized that Simon and his parents don't get along and that all the aggression seemed to be thrown at me. 2 years ago, I was just a 29-year-old woman who just wanted to settle down. I was a 29-year-old woman who just wanted to settle down. I wasn't ready for the burden of a family rivalry, but I had no choice because I was practically thrown into it. How would I describe Simon as a husband? Terrible. He has to be the worst husband any woman should want. That man is very selfish and self-centered. When I married him, I thought I'd be able to enjoy a comfortable, luxurious lifestyle. However, I'm not getting any of that. He has the money, but he just chooses not to spend it. The only thing he has done for me since we got married is find me the job I asked for. I began to feel desperate because I just had limited resources. I realized that he married me so his parents would stop taunting him about being single. I also wondered why he didn't marry. I found out that some of his colleagues had the same idea. It seems that he was looking for a girl like me, someone who would agree to do anything just because of his title. I'm a realtor agent, as I said, and I didn't even graduate from college. Simon is aware of that because I told him a miserable life story in the hopes that it would make him have compassion for me and marry me faster. Well, he did marry me, but not out of compassion. He married me because he wanted, and Simon is out there living his life and traveling because he's a realtor agent. We hardly sleep together because he wants to make sure I don't get pregnant. I used to wonder why he didn't like the idea of me getting pregnant, but I recently realized that it's because he doesn't want me to have a child with him and then divorce him before asking for child support and spousal support. He made it clear that I shouldn't get pregnant until we'd been married for 4 years. He wants to stay married to Simon for 4 years, but I'm not ready to stay married to that man for 4 good years. I know he might divorce me after 4 years. His parents are another source of stress. They keep asking me why I don't have a college degree and why I'm not pregnant yet. Sometimes his mother even asks me if her son hired me to be his wife. Let's get back to my situation. I called my husband Simon. It's clear to me that he's not being honest with me. The job he got for me is all I have. When I ask for money, he just gives me a couple of dollars and then that's it. I'm not impressed. I married a realtor agent, but I didn't expect this. I've been tired of waiting and I knew I had to do something fast. I told myself that I'm not going to stay married to Simon for 4 years without having anything to show for it. There are better options out there. I'm looking at other guys out there, and I could have married any of them, but I chose him for a reason, and that's why I refused to take a back seat. I might not have a college degree, but I believe that my instincts and intuition will take me far. Simon never stops talking about how I would have never gotten a job if he didn't make his friend hire me without. I'm ready to show that man that I'll do something so great that even a multiple degree holder like him would never beat me. Wow, I don't think I've ever seen so much hate in a comment section. What did I do wrong? I'm an opportunist and I didn't deny that I also didn't come here and pretend like I was a saint. I know I'm wrong in some things, but so is Simon. He's also an opportunist and a very greedy one. Why else would he get married to a high school graduate and then tell her he doesn't want children? We're both in the same boat, but I'm the one at the receiving end of it. Thankfully, some people supported my ideas even though they didn't agree with everything I said. I'm okay with that. I believe that I'll be able to get to the end of this without support if I want to get out of the marriage with something substantial. Having a child is important, but so far Simon has not wavered in his decision not to have children. I know that he won't change his mind. He cheats on me because he's hardly ever home. When we do get together, he uses protection a lot. He also gives me the pills immediately. I'm tired of the same routine and I don't want him to outsmart me. I'm ready to have a child. Even though it's not going to be for Simon, that's fine. That was the decision I made before I realized that there was a chance he'd find out. There was always the chance that Simon would find out I'd had a child with someone else. He's clever and I know he'd try to get a DNA test as soon as the baby is born. I just decided to have fun and see where it led. I was tired of sitting at home all the time, being disturbed by his parents and interviewed about every topic under the sun while he lived. I don't care if he's actually working. I'm tired of working once in a while and doing things continuously in a boring routine. I'm going to start pretending like I'm no longer a married woman because I need to have options left for when Simon suddenly wakes up and decides to divorce me. I don't want to go back to a life of I've asked Simon to put me into college, but he's not ready to do that. He keeps coming up with several ridiculous excuses, and I am just tired. Nobody has time for that, and I'm certainly not going to trust a selfish man like him with my life. There's no way that's going to be possible. Hi guys, it's time for an update. I almost feel like I'm running a reality TV show because of how much information about my life I'm putting out there. I guess I can't fault myself for asking advice and seeking the opinion of other people. Trust me when I say this, except a person was drunk or drugged, cheating is a conscious decision. I've made a decision, and it's something that's usually planned for months before it actually happens. How do I know? Well, I'm currently using myself as the test subject in this case, and I now understand a lot of things. I want to cheat on my husband. It's intentional, and I want to do it because Simon is one of the people who my husband is making my life very difficult. He has tried to tie me down, but I don't want to live like that. I thought he'd put me into college the moment I accepted to marry him. I also want to go to school and be educated. If he is not ready to do that for me, I should look elsewhere. He married me with ulterior motives. I think we both have ulterior motives. I don't think he's aware of this yet, but I'm sure he will be soon. When he got back from work yesterday, he looked tired. I've been trying to be a dutiful wife, but it's not easy. I've been preparing food for him because most of the people in the comments section tried to make me look bad. I decided to test Simon one again. I knew nothing would change, but I wanted to prove you wrong. I asked him about enrolling me in college again. I know he had the money, and I'm pretty sure he doesn't need to break the bank to send me to college. So why did he want to limit the amount of things he gave me? I realized that his reason for doing that is because he doesn't want to give me enough things so that I would not end up. Maybe he thinks I'll leave him if he gives me too much, so he's trying to make sure he doesn't spend too much or risk too much. I'm sure we're both playing a very risky game, and I just hope neither of us is ready to back down after talking to him and getting yesterday. I was disappointed, so I decided to be honest with myself and do what I've always wanted to do. There's a person at work who's trying to flirt with me, but I've never given that person a second thought. One reason for that is because that person is also I'm a colleague at work. Why would I want to date my colleague? We both earn the same thing and we're both trying to survive. Why would I want to risk everything by dating someone like that? I wasn't ready to have that kind of conversation yet, so I decided it was best to be wise. I wanted to make sure that whatever I do it right. I'd rather risk my marriage than my job. My marriage is already a sham, and to be honest, I've wanted out of it for months. I want to divorce Simon and go back to my hometown because he's only given me a job and a roof over my head. Those are the only reasonable things he's given. I only found out recently that I married a very stingy man. If I had known then, I would not have made the mistake of getting married to him. I'm at the first place now, about the person at my workplace. I think it's also risky because if I'm not careful, I could get caught. Simon gave me the job through his friend, who knows the owner of the fashion store. There's a chance that he's been keeping an eye on me. It'd be a shame if I fell into his trap. That'd give him a reason to divorce me without I don't want to think about it. I'm only holding on to the marriage because I want to make sure that I didn't waste the past 2 years of my life. I don't want to end up leaving the marriage in a bad way. It would make me really upset if I leave the marriage without anything at the end of it. I didn't marry a real estate agent that was about 9 years older than me just to be treated badly. That wasn't on my list of things to do. That's why I'm making sure that I think carefully about every relationship and never fall into a trap. It would be a shame for me to realize that in the process of trying to outsmart Simon, I ended up putting myself and everything I've endured at risk. I would hate myself for that, and I don't want that at all, so I'm just here to say that I'm waiting for that rich man that would finally get interested in me. I don't plan on waiting forever because I'm impatient and I don't want to waste my life away. That's all for today, folks. I'll catch up with you all soon. Just wanted to let you know that I'm still around and ready to chat. I've been called a gold digger by a lot of you, and I get it. I've called myself that too, so I don't blame anyone for having that perception. I guess I am a gold digger in the first place. I'm now getting calls from several people. I'm not surprised, but people can be extremely rude when they want to. They don't care about my feelings or how I ended up feeling. Well, I guess my feelings aren't valid as long as I'm a gold digger, LW. Before moving on, I just want to say that the comments have been pretty funny. It's been pretty intense, so life with Simon has been the same and there's been no change at all. I knew that I'd be a fool to think that a man as smart as him would suddenly try to act all sweet and stuff. I think the past few days have shown me that Simon is actually a very intelligent man. He seems to be aware that he married a woman who only looked at him twice because of his job and money. He knows that, and I guess that's one of the reasons he's making sure that we don't have a child until we're at least a year or two out. If it hadn't been for my desperation, I never would have married him. I didn't know what I was getting into. I expected more from him and thought I'd caught a big fish. So, Simon traveled just 2 days ago for one of his job trips. He's a realtor agent, so he naturally has to travel for work. Before we got married, I used to get really annoyed that he always traveled for work and left me at home. I asked him if his job required him to travel a lot, but he said it didn't. In fact, he said he wouldn't even travel more than 10 times a year. I was played by that, but now I know the truth. I recently discovered that he travels up to 10 times a month, which I had no idea about. I'm actually quite happy about it, as I'd been hoping he'd travel and just leave me at home when he left. I'd have a glass of champagne to celebrate. I had to tread carefully and act differently around my brothers because I didn't want to raise any suspicions. They came to LA last week and asked to see me, but I told them I wasn't in town. I didn't want them to see Simon, but that was the main reason. I want them to hate him, but I know Simon doesn't care for any of them. He made that clear even before we got married. He told me that he feels like my brothers are lazy and that they just spend all their time at the campsite doing nothing serious. I didn't say anything to him because I knew he had no idea what my brothers have done just to get by. It's easy for someone like him with so much money to think that life is just about traveling as a real estate agent. My brothers were the ones who took care of me for a long time, even though they didn't go to college. We didn't have the money to send us to college, so we just lived life as it came. At some point, we were the ones providing for our parents. Do I hold any grudges? Not at all. I know they tried their best to provide for us. Life isn't easy for everybody. I know Simon would. I wouldn't be afraid to say something that would bring my brothers down mentally, and that's why I think it's best that they avoid each other. I didn't want Simon anywhere near my brothers, and I don't want my brothers anywhere near Simon. I feel like life would be a lot easier if we just followed this protocol. I met up with my brothers today and we had a good chat. I asked why they were in LA and they told me it was for work. I was happy to hear that my brothers were doing well. We didn't get to talk for long as they had to get on with their day. They picked up on my mood even though I tried to keep a positive front. I kept a smile on my face. I just told them I was having period cramps. They didn't know anything about that, so they believed me when I got back home. I decided it was best to update you all first before I made my next move. One of my brother's friends in LA invited me to his house party. I'm actually planning on going. Do you think this is a great chance to meet new people? I'm really interested in making the most of this opportunity. I'm not going to update as often as I have been because I think it's best to just update you all at once. I'll update as soon as I can, but it won't be as often. I have more news. I cheated on my husband, and now I think I might be pregnant. I know that's a lot to take in, so I'll try to explain. It's been hectic and confusing, especially for me. I thought things would be easier, and I would be prepared since I'm the one actually planning everything. It's not a spur-of-the-moment decision, but I think I underestimated how fast things could change. It's actually very crazy, and I can't wait to tell you all about it. I went to the party I was invited to, just like I told you. I thought it would be a great chance to do something a bit wild, so I didn't think twice before doing what I wanted to do. The party was not what I expected at all. I thought it was going to be a wild house party with several drinks and an unhealthy amount of snacks. Well, it wasn't like that at all, and it really surprised me. I think one of the reasons I was so up for that party was because it was one of my brother's friends that invited me and I knew him from I'd been to this guy's house before, and he was quite wild and very dramatic, so I expected his party to be the same, but unfortunately for me, that was not the case at all. I think it's fair to say that I was quite shocked when I realized that his party was quite classy and sophisticated. I wasn't impressed at all because I wasn't really interested in a party that didn't have crazy drinks and an enormous amount of food. I wanted to let loose and just travel back in time to the days when I used to party with my brothers in our town. It was really fun, and I missed those days. Since I came to LA, I haven't been able to go to any parties like that because Simon was like a watchdog that fell from the sky just to keep an eye on me. I still wanted to have fun at the party, so I didn't let anything stop me. I didn't see the person that invited me for some time, so I just decided to look around and take a look at things for myself. That was just what I wanted to do at the beginning, but something happened and I actually met a guy that looked like money. When I tell you all he looked like money, I mean he really did. I'm not exaggerating when I say that his suit and everything he wore screamed money. I didn't quite understand why someone like that would want to wear a suit to a house party. Is that even normal? Well, I guess it is because he was not the only one I spotted in a suit. They all looked like people who knew what they were doing with their lives. The music was very slow and I think it was opera music that was playing in the background. It was nothing extra like that kind of music that just makes your eardrum. At that moment, I realized I was probably at a party for wealthy men. I was curious about how he knew so many affluent individuals. When I finally saw him, I asked him about it. He simply said that he had secured a well-paying job after moving to LA, which enabled him to purchase a house. He also informed me that most of the people present were his colleagues at work. This reassured me because I had initially been concerned that he was involved in some kind of illegal activity. I think it was a scam. The guy I told you all about didn't interact with other people much. He just stood in one place, sipping champagne and looking at some of the artworks on the wall. I approached and started a conversation with him. I was really nervous at first because I didn't want to embarrass myself in front of so many people. That's why I initially tried to see if I could just start a random conversation without causing a commotion. It actually worked, and then we started talking. At first, I started flirting with him, then I pretended like it. I think it was the wine I was drinking. We spoke for a long time and at some point we exchanged contacts. I had a lot of wine and the little alcohol available because I needed that drunk courage. It had been a long while since I tried doing what I had been doing at the parties, so I was very anxious at first. At the end of the day, we left the party together. My brother's friend actually pulled me to the side to ask me why I was going out of the party room with a guy. He was aware of the fact that I am married, so he wanted to know what I was thinking. I just told him it was nothing serious and that I'd speak to him another time. I could tell he was really worried, so he offered to call my brothers, but I refused. He left me alone after that, and then I went back to meet the guy. We went to a hotel that night and spent the night together. I didn't expect to feel the level of guilt I felt the next morning. I guess I'm human after all. We did use protection that night, and I was sure of it because I saw it in the bin. Me and that guy saw each other. After that, we saw each other quite a lot. I don't want to mention his name, but there are personal reasons why I don't. He gave me gifts and even offered to find me a job. At that point, he didn't even know I was married. Simon spent a long time on his trip, so I used that opportunity to spend time with the guy I met at the party. There were times when he didn't use protection, but I didn't think that if I suddenly got pregnant, I'd be the one to blame. I always thought that people had to put in effort and try to get pregnant. I just realized that's not true. I know that's not true, and that every woman has a different body type. I think I might be pregnant because I didn't see my monthly flow this month. Simon just got back yesterday, and I'm really scared. I don't know what to do at all because this isn't in my plan. What do I say to him? I'm really worried about what I'm going to tell Simon. I don't know what to say to the guy I'm pregnant for. Would he believe that the baby I'm carrying is his when he finds out that I'm married? I haven't taken a pregnancy test yet, so I'm not 100% sure, but I'm still scared. I haven't missed my menstrual flow like this. I've never experienced this before, so it makes sense that I'm pregnant. I think I'm really in trouble at this point. I took a pregnancy test because I was scared and wanted to know the truth. The test showed that I was pregnant. I went to the hospital to check, and I had to go back home and think of what to do. I decided to go tell my affair partner first. He was surprised that I was pregnant and also surprised that I was married. He accused me of trying to trap him with another woman's pregnancy. Then he broke things off with me. He literally told me it was over and that he never wanted to see me again. I almost fainted and gave up, but I had to tell myself that I couldn't just let something like that weigh me down. I left his place after getting rejected. He didn't even After I begged him to listen, Janner just sent me away. I had no choice but to leave. I went home and gave Simon the pregnancy test results. I told him I was pregnant, and he laughed in my face. He said there was no way that was possible. I asked him how he could be so sure. I had told him consistently that I was pregnant, and yet he said I was lying or that he wasn't the father. I didn't even try to back down. I refused to back down and let him win. I challenged him and asked him to prove. I asked him why he thought he was the father when I was married to him and we slept together like a couple. He said he always used protection, but I pointed out that protection isn't 100% reliable and there's a chance it could tear. I called him out for thinking he could bully me into rejecting a pregnancy that was his. I said he was being stupid if he thought he could deny the pregnancy. I called him all sorts of names and said he wasn't even man enough to accept his own child. I was scared of taking responsibility. That was the first time I raised my voice at him. I was angry and wanted to vent. I thought those harsh words would soften him up and make him accept the pregnancy. Instead, I was shocked by his reply. He told me the pregnancy couldn't be his because he had gotten a vasectomy long ago. He said he did so because he didn't want me to come up with fake stories. I was surprised. I realized I had been caught red-handed. I was at a loss. There was no going back. I should have pinned the pregnancy on him when I knew just how smart he was. I asked him why he always used protection when he knew he had a vasectomy. Then he told me he wanted to have 2 backups that same day. He sent me out of the house and I was served with divorce papers. 2 weeks later, I signed the papers without a second thought because I knew there was no way I could drag it out. The divorce can only be finalized after I give birth and he's proven not to be the father. His parental rights would be revoked and he won't need to pay child support. That's just how smart Simon is. I can't believe it's been almost a year since I was pregnant. I didn't have a lot of time to process things. I gave birth 2 months ago to a baby girl. The DNA tests were conducted, and it was proven that he wasn't the father. His parental rights were revoked, so he doesn't owe me child support anymore. Despite all I did, I ended up with nothing in the end. I tried to contact my affair partner again, but he's made it impossible to reach him. I'm now a single mother with 2 mouths to feed. Karma caught up with me and Simon left me with nothing. The only money I have now is the money from I also had savings from the fashion store. I was fired, by the way. Simon made sure he didn't let me go just like that. I guess the gold digger is now left with no gold to dig. I feel like I got what was coming to me. There's no way I can pin this on another person, even though I hold some grudges. You win some and you lose some.